bit about crypto. I'm David James, your host. I'm the Job Whisperer, and I'm also at Twitter. You can find me at the BTC Recruiter. And once again, I'm back with my co-host, Dave Hampton, RoboRecruiter. Talk about it.
How's it going?
What have you been doing, man?
Just gearing up for school, just for the kids. So,
yeah, you've done a lot of school, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say a lot. My wife has 2 masters. I only have 1.
So I guess that finds you a bit wanting.
I guess so. But that was a choice. I decided not to go further.
Yeah. So. You people don't know this about David. He's got a master's in forensic psychology.
Indeed.
Yeah, dude, how did you pick that major? Of all things, you got a degree in English and you graduate. How do you pick forensic psychology? What of all things?
I had a really high interest in law enforcement and profiling and pathology, and I had worked for the New Orleans Police Department on the crime scene unit, and they'd offered me a job, and it was $7.25 in 2003, and
baller.
And I decided I don't think that's a good wage, and thankfully I turned it down because 2 years later Katrina hit the city, and that would have been even more awful to have been. I mean, But I picked forensic psychology because the idea, the goal, or the plan, God's laughing, was to get a PhD in clinical psychology.
And by the way, those of you who are listening on Spotify or Apple, he actually looked up with his eyes to God when he said that. Just, you can't miss that visual there.
I mean, it's just funny how life works,
Yeah.
You think you have plans, and then life happens, and so my wife was the one who pointed out to me a while back about career path, and everyone thinks it's linear, and it's really this ball of wire that's really circuitous, and you get here, and there's no. People ask me how I got to where I am. I mean, it's an interesting path that. I couldn't even tell them,
But forensic psychology, as I come to find, right, has been just so instrumental to you in recruiting, and the many things you've taught me about motivations and profiling. People.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, I was able to apply it in Afghanistan, and I mean, I had to figure out a method to apply it to the Afghanistan presidential candidates, and so I had to learn some of the methods that were used for leadership profiles by previous professors, and so contacted them and figured out how to apply it to where I was in Afghanistan, and that's really been paramount to listening to people and hearing their tones, intonations, and speech patterns, and really kind of figure out some psychoanalytic patterns and their behaviors. And
I think as we get further down the road, we're going to do something about how forensic psychology and how one selects a cryptocurrency. I bet you that's something we put together. And everybody, I wanted to actually let David talk a little bit because, as you know, usually in this show, I do most of the talking, if not all of it, right? And which is very contrarian for me because all my friends describe me as very shy and introverted.
Super introverted, yeah.
Yeah, but like I'm going to Toastmasters now, and I'm finally working up the courage to tell people how I really feel. So, but anyhow, that's really good. So we're blockchain recruiters. We sponsor this podcast, and so this podcast, the genesis of the podcast, is to actually help those who actually want to know about crypto, want to learn more about crypto, but don't know who to ask. So here we're going to just all steak, no fat, right? All fact, no rumor. We talk about what we know, not necessarily what we think, unless we can base it up with something. And, the real idea of this was so we could actually get people to come to our recruiting firm. So if you're in the blockchain space or have talents that you think are transferable to the blockchain space, right? Send me an email. I'm David J. at blockchainrecruiters.net. That's net, like catch it in the net. Don't get it twisted with that other thing. And since we're here, we're talking about it. We got a great guest. Let's get a word from our sponsor. Let's get that out of the way. So,
okay, all right.
Blockchain Recruiters podcast, Bit About Me, is brought to you by drumroll Travis. Blockchain Recruiters. So what kind of positions are you working on?
Let's see here. I mean, I got a lot of similar positions as before, but I got a blockchain developer, senior blockchain developer. Mm-hmm. I got a head of blockchain. I got a smart contract.
Didn't you fill that smart contract job?
I got another one.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, well, I've been too busy being busy. I've got nothing. I got no good candidates. All my jobs are filled.
Okay.
So
So you worked yourself out of a job?
don't hate me because I'm beautiful. So anyhow, so that's that. So, okay. So, well, I'm just going to get right into it. So it's funny, you know, being a recruiter, you trust your intuition, right? I had an epiphany like about 15 years ago where my intuition just got clear and it just made me a better recruiter. And a lot of that had to do with the way I would formulate my thoughts, the things I would or would not put into my body as a form of ingestion, right? Fast foods, you know, that could be a myriad of things. But I found the natural intuition, the gifted intuition that I had as a kid, got more and more profound and pronounced. And, you know, in the last 3 years, it's gotten exceptionally well. And I found that my ability to find candidates, and you've watched me do this. You said, how do you find that person? I said, I just don't know. I almost just bring them into consciousness. It's been the same thing as it relates to my next guest, right? You know, I'm an avid golfer. I'm kind of the one that got you into golf, right? And you know, I'm avid and passionate about blockchain. I'm the one that actually brought you to the awareness, right? Because blockchain is like recruiting is very much a mentorship business. So is blockchain, right? You can't just like figure it out one day. You need to be around people who are hopefully doing it correctly. Right? And on top of that, you know, I'm all about good partnerships, right? The partnerships that you and I have. And so my next guest, he's all about blockchain, and he's all about golf, and he's a better golfer than me, so I don't appreciate that. And he's got a good gig going. So with no further ado, I'd like to welcome our guest, Andrew Birnbaum. Welcome to A Bit About Crypto.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Andrew, tell us a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up? Let's take it all the way from any part of like you entering the world to high school, college, or wherever. Where did that all happen?
Yeah. So I grew up in San Diego in Pacific Beach.
Okay.
Went to school there. Had a great childhood, and it's not what it is today. That particular city, but went to school in Texas. Went to UT. Had a great experience there.
In Austin?
In Austin, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And then came back to California, but instead of San Diego, Orange County.
Okay.
Where I was for 30 years in Costa Mesa, Newport Beach area.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. My son's to blame for the crypto.
Okay.
He came to me with this idea, this crazy thing called Bitcoin or something, and I was like, that's cute, but, you know. And then I read, he gave me a ton of information.
The Bitcoin standard, did he give it to you?
Oh, yeah. Read Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, had somewhat of an epiphany. And at that particular time in my life, I was really fascinated with the whole economic situation that was going on.
No, hold on a second. I usually go, I get to this later when I know more about you, but so I guess I'll ask right now because you started. So how did crypto find you? So what was the date? Where are we in history when said son brings said Bitcoin idea to dad?
Do you want the blockchain number? Do you want the year? Do you want the price of Bitcoin? What do you want?
So here's the question. So I asked
it was $610.
Okay, so $610. So that means 2013, probably right around November. September 2014.
I think it was October, but yeah.
Or 13.
Yeah.
13. Right. Okay. Right. Because I remember. So we're going to talk about this right now. I got into Bitcoin that same year when it was $210, and it went to $1,000. I went, it's over for me. I've missed it. Right? And people today, they're thinking it's over for them and they missed it. The Bitcoin's too high. And right now, Bitcoin, you know, where it is right now, like between 35 and 55,000, it's nothing. It's so low compared to what it's going to be. But anyhow, back to you. So, yeah, so basically, so you discover Bitcoin in 2013, right? And he brings it to you and talk about the conversation. Hey, Dad.
So when he was in high school, they had this.
Let's name this kid. What's his name?
Michael.
Okay, so Michael.
So in high school, they do like a fun thing where they say, okay, if you had $50,000, what would you do in the market, right? And put some money in stocks, and you have to pick and all that. So we've been talking about money and its importance and lack of importance in life too. And So anyway, he did extremely well. So he came to me with this Bitcoin thing, right? And was like, Dad, we should put some money into this. We should put some money into this. He's all fired up. And I was like, what is it? And he's like, well, it's kind of like this alternate currency thing. I'm like, okay, you need to give me more. So, but I was fascinated when I read the white paper, and the conversation went like, hey, Dad, let's put some money into this. And I said, okay, let's do it. Let's see what happens. The evolution of that at that particular time was more like there's this mining thing, right? And there were co-ops of mining, and there was all sorts of different opportunities to put money into different co-ops, or you could do it yourself, or all this other stuff. So I was like, all right, well, let's try a little bit of that. And if we make the money back that we put into it, we'll put more in. And that went on and kind of accelerated. Well, then my friends are like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on with this? What's this Bitcoin thing, right? So that kind of evolved into, like you were saying, mentoring people. And I remember having like dinner at my house with like 10 people, like literally just vomiting Bitcoin and how great it was and how long-term it was.
Evangelize.
No, this is a man after my own heart. That's why we're going to be lifetime friends, anyhow, because he understands the struggle is real. Continue.
No, so what ended up happening was I'm telling all my friends, and I'm like, guys that had kids, and I was like, oh, trust me, just take $5,000, buy Bitcoin, you'll pay for your kids' college education. Like, don't worry about it. Just put it in there and forget about it. And then there were all these other people that were like, I guess, stingy, right? And I'm a huge, obviously, BTC component, but I also live a life. I don't want to take all this stuff and not. So I bought my car with Bitcoin. I've done a lot of stuff. My son and I just got back from a 10-day vacation in Hawaii for all paid by Bitcoin. Like, I've actualized some of the profits and lived my life with it.
Slow your roll.
Okay.
So when somebody says, I paid for my car with Bitcoin, or somebody says I paid for a vacation with Bitcoin, that can mean two things. Okay, thing one means I'm rocking my smart wallet right here on my phone, and I go to car dealer, whomever, and they say, okay, that'll be that, and you zap them Bitcoin. Or you pay for everything on your Hawaii in Bitcoin. So the question I'm asking you is, did you pay for it with Bitcoin, or did Bitcoin enable you the additional resources based on its growth to pay for these things?
Both.
Okay, well, I want to hear about how you're paying for stuff in Bitcoin. That fascinates me.
Well, we could go back to, we got way ahead of ourselves. We go back to Cabo, where we were paying our staff in Bitcoin.
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, this we need to bring this one home because you're just such a wealth of information. So hold on a second. So we're going to go back to your career. So you go to school in Texas and Austin, and then you come out of school, and what type of career did you have, or did you think you were going to have, or talk about that. What did you do at that iteration of your life?
So I was always taught that to be a good leader, you need to be led, right? So I knew as an entrepreneur and starting my own business that I wanted to learn from other people, right? I think some of the wisdom is allowing other people to make mistakes and not having to make them.
Yeah, it's very astute. So I've learned that a smart man learns from his own mistakes. A wise man learns from others. So
there's plenty of mistakes out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I start my own business. I was in the golf tournament business. It was one of my first businesses. And
so cool. That sounds so exciting, right? Because
were you playing in these tournaments, or were you just putting?
Of course, he was.
So at the time, I couldn't afford to play these private courses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See,
throughout Orange County, right?
But you had a vision. You're like, I want to play in these tournaments, and that's how.
I wanted to play the golf courses more than I did the tournaments.
Right.
I was a good enough golfer to play the tournament.
I get it.
Scramble.
There's an angle. I get it.
I kept seeing these chairpersons of golf events that were like, lawyers and big business guys, whatever, heads of companies. I'm like, they don't have the time to run these tournaments. It's obviously their assistants that are helping do that. I go, I wonder if there's a business. So in, I'm trying to think of what year it was, but I'm going to say early 90s. We did like Toyota, their charity event, Apple Computers, Western Digital. Like, we did some big boy tournaments. We had like 56 tournaments the second year we were in business, and had a hoot and flew all over the world and was playing golf, and it was great. But there was a capacity issue with that.
Yeah,
But
right.
we raised a lot of money for charities and had a lot of fun, so it was good.
But with a business that's like being a wedding planner, right? The problem, the wedding planners can't like hire other subordinate wedding planners because the business is only as good as the mind of that one wedding planner, and that's probably the same thing with you having the eye for the details and you know where things are going to go wrong. So your inability to scale yourself, right? And being a recruiter, we see these things happening when people say, "Hey, I need to hire 15 people right away." It's like, yeah, even if I had them all in a line, you couldn't hire them all.
So I trained 3 vice presidents to do what I do, and they all said, "You're crazy. I could never do what you do." I trained 3 more, and they all said, "Screw you. I'm going to go do this on my own." Right? So it was that kind of evolution of having a successful business that you don't need to physically manage every day in that
Right.
growth capacity. So, so that evolved, and then I went to work in the golf industry and tried to move my way up the food chain to run golf golf equipment companies. Which I did. I ran Sonar Tech in San Diego. At the time, we had...
Is it in San Diego or Carlsbad?
It was in Carlsbad.
Okay.
Well, I'd say San Diego. Most of the
Carlsbad,
listeners aren't going to differentiate North County versus...
Well,
it's like going overseas and say you live in Costa Mesa. They're like, what? And you're like, L.A. They're like, oh, I know where that's at. So.
Yeah.
I was just kind of curious about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Carlsbad is an up-and-coming suburb of San Diego.
Yeah, it really is. It's the golf capital, really, of the world.
Yeah.
As far as golf technology,
Yeah.
TaylorMade's
There's
there.
Callaway.
Callaway's there.
Yeah.
They're all there. It's solely.
Yeah, we were like these little tiny guys. It was funny, actually. I met a guy here in Vegas, Peter Pocklington, the guy that owned the Edmonton Oilers, was the guy that owned the company at the time. And a friend of mine had me meet him and ended up running it. And we were on the cover of magazines.
And what year was this?
Oh, gosh, I'd have to go back and look. But it was the year that Zach Johnson won the Masters because we had our 3-wood in his bag.
2001?
Early 2000s,
Yeah, okay.
So ran that company, and then we bought another company that was like the Reader's Digest, or not Reader's, Consumer Digest of golf. It was called Rankmark, and we were getting like 2 million unique visitors a month. And because everybody says, you're going to hit your driver, whatever, 10 yards farther, and we're like, well, if you buy that, and then you buy another one that hits it 10 yards farther, and then you buy, like, you couldn't really tell. And golf, for me, is so universal. It's like your swing is going to be different than you. So how can you say that this is going to be the best club for you? You don't even know how you swing. So
Yeah.
Anyway, we
get that.
did our own testing with consumers, and it was really a great experience. And then sold that company, and that was kind of my.
Okay, so you sell that company. I'm trying to get to the part of the show where we're paying people in Bitcoin. So
Okay.
yeah.
So my son gives me this information.
Wait, I don't want to gap. So when do we sell the company? I just want to know where we are in history with you, right? You sell the company.
Rankmark was sold, I think, in 2007 or 8,
Okay.
something like that.
Who bought it?
We sold it to a group that
Okay.
was interested. It was just post the time when the click per ad was changed. So we went from like woohoo to like, oh damn. But we sold it. But it was fascinating to see all the different equipment. We get everything first, and I was at the PGA show for 20 years, and
Wow, that's so awesome.
Yeah, it was really, really fascinating between learning about the equipment and that business, and also just like consumer behavior, right?
Yeah.
Like they just buy a driver that's a $500 driver because it says that it can do that when.
Yeah, but
It's the whole idea of the need. Like they need that driver to go that far, right? That's that's kind of the.
And it was around the time that they started customizing equipment, which I was a huge proponent of, because you're a lot taller than me.
Yeah.
So most everybody is, but you get
No,
that
I
kind of
just want you to know.
shaft, lie, and loft, and all of the different aspects. You can't buy something off the shelf and think that it's going to work. You got to hit it.
I'm going to say, do you know who Phil Moore is?
I don't.
Okay, so Phil Moore is the club fitter up at Goose Creek at the Lorena Ochoa Golf Academy.
Yeah.
And back when I was horrible, right, I would go to Phil, and he wrote a book called The Science of Golf. And one of the premises he had in that was if technology is getting so much better, how come scores aren't going down? Right? How come the crappy golfer who always can't break 100 is not shooting in the 80s? If technology is getting so much better. So yeah, I understand what you. I'm just going to say something. I'm so passionate about golf because when I started golf changed everything. When my integrity on the golf course changed, my integrity outside in life changed. right?
Absolutely.
It's an incredible metaphor, and I don't want to go too personal on this, but we've talked offline about my journey through that. And as a recruiter, I've been a professional recruiter really since I was 14. I was professional, I guess. I got $5, but when I talk to hiring authorities about the thing they're looking for, even if it's a time and motion engineer or a lipstick chemist, right? Sometimes I get really excited and I say to myself, man, I wish I had those qualifications so I could do that job. And when I have that excitement, I know the position is filled because I'm going to find somebody and they will know the sincerity in my voice. It's like, dude or dudette, okay, you got to interview this job. Right. Yeah. And when I listen to you talk about the things that you did, I really have some great envy. It's like, wow. I mean, everybody thinks that everybody else's job is cool. Right. When I played professional poker, everyone said, that must be cool. It's like, yeah, you lose $1 million in a year. You tell me if it's cool. Right. Or, fight with your wife or lose relationships. So there's always some part of something that's not cool. But when you speak about that story with my love for golf what golf means to me. Right. Because I don't hear about golfers like beating people up on airplanes. Right.
Well, and you go out and you see people that interview people and they'll play golf. And if you spend 4 hours plus on the course with somebody, you can tell if the guy's nudging the ball, he's going to cheat. Mm-hmm. If he's playing by the rules, you can tell about his attitude when he hits a bad shot. If he's going to regroup, you can tell a lot about a person.
Golf is the truth. Golf is the truth. Yeah. Because, and like Oprah says, when someone tells you who they are, let them.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's absolutely the truth. It's funny because I had a group of guys that we used to play with, and we'd play Wolf for $1 a hole, it may as well be 10,000. The pressure we'd put on each other. There's something about this group just collecting $7 in the parking lot. It's like, yeah, bring it here, boys.
Oh yeah,
right.
Bragging rights too. Right. The things that change for $1. You talk about the psychological. Yeah. I got a group here I play with, and we'd say, this is for $1, and the guy will. Get all tight.
Muff the 18-inch putt. But what I wanted to say about
that's the pride. That's the pride trembling.
We have a rule. Nobody, if you ever throw clubs, you're not allowed in the group. You're out of the group, right? So, I mean, all of us, we play together because that's just behavior is not acceptable. But we've got a rule. If you get mad after a poor shot or a poor result, you have 15 seconds to be as mad as you want. You're allowed to take your club and smack it into the ground 5 times, but after 16 seconds, you got to come back to earth because you can't take everybody hostage.
You can do that if you play golf with me. I just won't ever play golf with you again. We have a 1-hole whine. You can't physically break your club or smash or pound or whatever. You can be pissed off about a shot. Everyone's going to obviously do that. But we have a 1-hole whine. If like 2 holes later, you're like, I still can't believe I missed that putt, or I shanked that, or I can get it out of the sand or whatever.
You're gone. But
you're like, really move on.
So
I had an interesting,
go ahead,
real quick story. So I'm playing golf like 2 weeks ago, and I'm playing way beyond my normal game. Like it's one of those days when the things are all coming together.
Just there.
And all 3 guys come up to me on 18 on the box, and they said, they whisper, right? Andrew, if you par this hole, you'll shoot even par for the round. And you talked about the psychological aspect of the game. Oh my gosh, this has happened to me several times before. So needless to say, I duck hooked my shot into the rough on the left anyway.
Yeah, I'm a 13 handicap, and I'm actually proud because I worked really, really hard to maintain that. And the best round I ever had in my life was the guy who actually got me into golf, right? And he shot a 79 that day, and I literally was on the 18th hole at Eagle Glen up in Corona, California, the par 5. And he said to me, he says, you're only 1 over for the round. I had 6 birdies that day, 6 birdies, and at that time I had 7 bogeys, and everything else was par. And I said to myself, I've birdied this hole before. And of course, I get a bogey. So 74 is my high water mark. But anyhow, I guess our listeners are going, this isn't.
So how does this relate to
crypto?
This
isn't
how
bit about golf. This isn't bit about golf. Sorry, everybody. I'm human. And so is Andrew. David Hampton is a machine. He's the RoboRecruiter. He's not Hampton. He never was. He's like the new version of the T1000 that Arnold Schwarzenegger was. So how do we get into the business on where you're paying people in Bitcoin?
So I'm back up a little bit. So I'm helping another friend with his gig as COO. I liked a lot of times being second in command because the CEO gets all the responsibility and has all the face time and all that. I'll do the behind the scenes work and do the work. And this guy in north of LA was into crypto and was talking to me, and he said, I'm putting this exchange together. and we need someone who understands technology, and we're doing a crypto exchange. And he said, I want you to run the company. So when Titan came out, I was able to run that company for about 9 months, and we put so much stuff together, and that was during...
Tell the audience what Titan was.
Yeah, what is Titan?
Titan Digital Currency Exchange.
Okay, talk about it.
So it was a currency exchange during the boom of the ICOs.
2017?
Yeah, and I've spoke a lot about this. My whole thing is put your big boy pants on. If it smells like a security, it moves like a security, and you're trading with the public, I don't know how you're going to avoid regulation, certainly in the U.S., right? So I was a big proponent of sort of legitimizing the securities, right? Everyone's talking about the Howey test and whether it was or wasn't, and I was like, it is. It's going to be hard not to. So we took it down that path. The challenge we had was our technology.
Just for our audience, are you talking about that Bitcoin is going to be labeled a security at this time, as opposed to a commodity, as opposed to a currency? Is that what you're talking about?
We could do a whole show on
right, but just for our audience, there's been this big dispute or a discongruency since Bitcoin is decentralized on what it actually is. Right, and so
I can answer. The best answer I can give you is there's a difference between tax avoidance
and tax evasion. Okay, so are you at liberty to talk about that at all? Because
just kind of leave it at that. I mean, when I was in the vape industry, right, we would always talk, and they'd say, "Oh, screw big tobacco and blah blah blah," and I was like, "Look, if I was the city of Los Angeles and you have 300 vape shops, and none of them are paying taxes, and 2 of them has a business license, I'd ban you too. Like, put on your big boy pants." I spoke all over the world. I was like, come on. It's great to be rebellious against the government, right?
Yeah, but at some point you got to conform.
And I think I'm going to get crazy here, but I think
go.
What Coinbase is doing right now, I think they're just driving all of the people that are using their services in the U.S. overseas.
So, for our audience,
what do you?
So here's the deal. I'm going to say this, and I hope I don't want to speak poorly of Brian Armstrong. I really don't. But when Brian Armstrong, well, everything, they say that everything before the word "but" is BS, right? However, but Brian Armstrong, when he first started Coinbase, and he started it a long time ago. Right, he started it like 2012. That it was his genesis. It was his baby, and he was talking about Coinbase is going to be Bitcoin only, and it's only going to be and we're going to respect all the privacies that people have, et cetera, et cetera. And then what happened is that he got more successful. He started, we'll take every coin we can because it's a profit thing, right? But on top of that, he started actually giving away everybody's information to the IRS.
Okay,
right?
So now you're going down this road. I don't want to get into the debate about a particular exchange.
Okay.
Or say anything bad, because I know a lot of people that are getting into crypto, and Coinbase has been a fantastic, easy way to kind of use.
Yeah, it's a good conduit for it.
And we recommend
entry level, and then they kind of realize what is and what isn't, and then they.
And for the record, when on this show, when someone says, "Hey, how do I get Bitcoin?" I say, "Open a Coinbase account," because it is regulated, right? They are publicly traded, and there's going to be no mishigash about someone
I would say go to Swan Bitcoin.
Well, Swan Bitcoin is a weighted dollar cost average, and the problem with that is they actually have to know how to self custody to get it out. So that's not a good spot for a first timer who knows nothing about Bitcoin.
You want to have a conversation about wallets?
No.
We did have a guest talk about multi-sig. So
we had a guy from Unchained Capital.
Yeah, from Unchained Capital.
There's some pretty good white label stuff out there now too. The problem I've always had, especially coming from the digital currency exchange, was the whole concept of actually having security, which is kind of a fallacy. And then they run like these hackathons, and I'm thinking, if I was a hacker and I'm getting $100,000 to figure out what's wrong with your currency, your exchange, I'm going to wait until you have hundreds of millions of dollars in there. I'm just going to say, no, everything's fine.
Yeah, well, recently there was a hacker who actually got $600 million.
Yeah,
right?
Recently.
So that actually happened. So I want to go back to, and pardon me,
We get on this tangent with
but pardon me,
exchanges,
and I want to just clarify. I don't want to speak poorly of Brian Armstrong either, and my insinuation could have been perceived that way, and I'm trying to stay acontroversial and apolitical and stuff. But you were saying that Coinbase is going to drive people overseas. You said that. So let's just talk about the why behind that why.
So this is just my personal belief.
This is a bit about crypto. Tell us a bit about
everybody. Well, I should say everybody. That's a pretty broad generalization. Most people that I know don't mind paying some taxes in the United States, but pretty much everybody I know wants to pay the least amount of taxes that they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even our politicians do that.
Right.
It's a universal one. Yeah.
I mean, you go to other countries and they're like, yeah, our taxes are 50%, and I don't mind paying them because we get all these services.
No, it's very natural to say, hey, I earned $1. Let me keep as much of the dollar that I earned.
Right.
I mean, that's totally okay. All right.
But let's take this out of nuance. What are you saying for our audience? Because remember, our audience members, they're just learning.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying if you open up a securities account like a Schwab or an E-Trade or whatever, they're going to KYC, AML you. They're going to give you all your information. And if you make money or you sell stock or do whatever, you're going to get taxed.
Right.
Okay.
So in the U.S., one of the challenges they've had has been trying to regulate Bitcoin and crypto in general, right? So they're kind of firing arrows. And my experience has been, be it the SEC or a lot of our agencies are reactive.
100%.
They don't have a lot of proactive behavior. And I went through this in the vape industry where they were like, oh, you guys are tobacco. We're like, no, we're not tobacco.
We're nicotine.
Like, yeah, right? No, then you're pharmaceutical. We're like, whoa, that's even worse. Like, no. Right? So you want us to create a category for vape? Like, that's never going to happen, right? You either are this category or that.
No, it's your job to do it. You guys do it, right?
Right. So are we a money transfer service? Are we going to regulate it? You need to buy crypto through a Series 7 licensed broker? We don't even, like, as it is now, I don't go to the New York Stock Exchange and buy stock. I have to go through somebody. Well, in crypto, you just go to a exchange and buy crypto. There's no intermediaries, right?
Or somebody at a meetup.
Right. Or OTC or in person, right?
Yeah, the privacy part.
Yeah.
That really matters the most out of all this.
Yeah. So what ends up happening when I was mentioning, and I didn't mean to just specifically call out Coinbase. I'm just saying that in general, when people are aware of the fact that now Coinbase is a little more friendly with our government, perhaps when they started, all I think that's going to do is drive a lot of those accounts overseas.
Yeah,
I don't think it solves a problem. I don't think that it's going to make the people that have crypto all of a sudden pay their taxes. I don't think that that's going to, but they're trying to do their part in it. I understand from a business perspective. I'm just saying, I don't think the result is going to be like, oh, okay, then I'll go ahead and pay my taxes. I'm like, oh, there's this exchange over here that I can put my crypto in and not pay taxes.
So since I was talking,
does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
No, it does. It's kind of like I've said this to you before. It's kind of like I firmly believe this. I think Facebook is really cozy with our government, and I think they really help out the CIA.
Facebook is our government. What are you talking about? So anyhow, I'm sorry, Facebook. Don't ban me. Anyhow, but here's the thing. I've always thought this. That people have said to me, well, what if they make it illegal in the United States, Bitcoin? And you know what? They might. It's not going to stop it.
So I've seen a lot of parallels. I was in the vape industry
so talk
for a
about
long time.
Well, I want you to lead into why Bitcoin won't be able to be beat down, even if people illegalize it.
You can look historically at. This is my humble opinion,
and that's all we want.
Historically,
your humbleness.
The prohibition went really well. Didn't it? It stopped all the drinking, right? So as a teenager, you're going to ban smoking. So did teenage smoking go down?
Not a one person.
Okay, so you drive all of this off-market stuff with vape. What happened? Black market just blew up. It didn't slow it down. It wasn't like, oh, it's bad. You
created a larger demand for it. Is all you did.
Exactly. So I mean, and I think the government is trying to do the best they can. I mean, I've actually spoken to like members of parliament in Canada about vape and was trying to help them, because they're like, we don't get it. We don't understand. How can we legally have nicotine in Canada, but we can't import it? Like, how does that all work? And I think a lot of the government is going through the same thing with Bitcoin. Go ahead, ban it or whatever you try to ban it. Like how is that going to work? Like, good luck with that. Like, that's just going to fuel a lot of people's fire.
People
be like,
understand.
yeah, they banned it. Now it's like,
But this is the arrogance of the United States, right? In many ways. I love being an American. I think I'm very privileged. Okay,
It's the arrogance of any government.
But
though.
as an American, I very much love all of the rights that we used to have. Anyhow, I got that from George Carlin. He said that. But if America was to ban Bitcoin, make a law against it, right? Which I don't think they will, because Wall Street's too far entrenched with it. It will still survive because Bitcoin is not an American thing. Bitcoin is a worldwide financial network, and they're still using it in El Salvador, and they're still going to use it in Paraguay and Chad and wherever else all the governments are failing.
China.
Right?
Yep.
Right. We could go there. We could
South Korea.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's no. I mean, so you're right. They could ban it like they had prohibition, right? No one can smoke under 21.
Yeah, that global war against drugs really worked.
Well,
too.
let's talk about this.
Right. Just don't do it.
Every country in the world has an anti-human trafficking law. Every country in the world has that, and I'm going to just tell the world how well they've done to have totally eliminated human trafficking. Right. And look, human trafficking is a very, very sad thing. Right. But my point is that when there's a market for something, right, it'll be there. And this is where we are with sound money. So let's get to the part of the show where you're paying people in Bitcoin. Let's talk about that.
So I was in the vape game, and my friend Eden, who's partner and founder and the brains, if you will, behind the operation, and he comes to Orange County. We run into each other before, and I wanted to hire him at one point for one of the companies I was running, and he's wanted to hire me for one of the companies he's running before. And that, you know, that you talked about your evolution of how you got to where you are, and you can write a book, and it's not a straight line.
It isn't.
So what ended up happening was he came out, and it was kind of a funny story. So he walks into this warehouse. We had like 20,000 square foot warehouse with all the stuff, and there's nothing in it. And he says to me, he says, "Oh my God, is everything okay?" I go, "Yeah, we sold out of everything. That's what our problem was."
Oh, wow.
So it was like we were doing really well. Anyway, he tells me about this technology that he wants to do using blockchain in Mexico, which is similar to Angie's List. And but it's better because they're using blockchain and all these other aspects.
What do you call it?
Pedro's List.
Okay. So it's like Angie's List for Mexico?
That'd be kind of an insult to Mexico, but
Oh,
yeah. I would
okay.
say.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
No, I mean,
I can accidentally insult somebody. It's a gift of mine.
I won't
Just
mention any names. Angie's List, that is great, but we felt that there were some things that could be improved upon,
Right.
and I think that's the case with most businesses anyway.
Right.
Yeah, you GE'd it, right? We can make things better, kind of thing.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it was an arrogant American company that thought they could do what they wanted to do in Mexico, and that dog won't hunt.
So basically, is there any type of solution to Angie's List that exists in Mexico at all right now?
Yeah, there's a lot of people trying to do some things, and we have some phenomenal partnerships with people down there that are super blockchain friendly, super crypto friendly.
Right.
But what was interesting was we went. So we go down there and we're starting to talk to these people, and we're trying to find out what they want. Right? What a concept! Like, go to your audience and say.
And who is they? Is they the customers? Are they the workers? Or when you've heard of they, who is? I don't know who the. I know in Facebook that basically we're the product. We're really not the customers.
Right.
In Angie's List, is it the people that actually do the work, the vendors that offer, or is it the consumers that buy?
Well,
Yes.
Isn't it three?
Yes, to both.
It's all three of them. It's kind of like you have when you recruiter, right? You have the candidate, client, and recruiter. So you have three different. You have
Exactly.
it's all.
Okay.
It's the similar
So
theme that we've talked about, Dave.
Yeah, it was started by a guy that went down there. God rest him. He's passed since, but he went down to Mexico to Mazatlan, had a house that he bought, and he wanted to get drywall done. Where do you go? Well, here we just Google, right, and find it and go.
Drywall Carlsbad, Drywall Vegas.
No,
right?
not happening in Mazatlan at the time. And so
What year is this?
This would be 7 years ago.
Okay, 2014. All right.
Yeah. So anyway, he went through that and then needed a painter. And then he asked his neighbor about a plumber. Guy comes over, says, "Hey, I can do this." Gives him some pesos. Guy takes the pesos and leaves. Never heard from him
Doesn't
again.
do the work.
He's not going to go back to his neighbor and go, "Hey, that guy screwed me." He's kind of embarrassed that he even had to ask him in the first place. So if you look at it from the perspective of like, let's take a cab. Right?
Okay.
I'm going to take a cab down to the airport. I don't know when the cab's going to show up. I don't know how much it's going to cost. I don't know the route they're going to take. I don't know the driver. I don't know
if they're going to show up at all.
Right? I can call an Uber. I know when they're going to come.
Yep.
I know who's going to come, and I can see the ratings of the people that have ridden in that car before, and how much it costs, and what so we wanted to do something similar to that. So Eden brings me this project, and I'm like, it just came off of the digital currency exchange where we couldn't finish the technology. The security wasn't, in my mind, up to par. Even though there were a lot of other companies that were using similar security measures, we actually hacked it. So it was like, okay, we need to start over. So I brought it to a friend of mine, Dan Sloan. I don't know if you guys know who Dan Sloan is. He's pretty well known guy in the industry. And I said, hey, I got this project. Can you security test this or validate it, or just take some time to look at what they've built and see if it is what they say they are? He's like, Andrew, I'm super busy. I'm working with 300 developers right now. I can't help you. I go, Dan, I just gave you $1 million worth of business not too long ago. You need to take 5 minutes. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. So a couple days later, he calls me back and he's like, not only do you have a monster here, you have no idea what you have here, how well this was built and designed and engineered. And
we're talking about Pedro's list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he said, but I want to be involved. I was like, I thought you had 300 developers working on all these projects, which he does. But anyway, so that's kind of how it started. So then I called Eden and I was like, okay, let's talk more. And he goes, well, let's move you to Vegas. I was like, I've lived in 30 years in California. I'm not moving. There's no way. And then we put it together and I moved here. So yeah. And then we've been down to Cabo, and you asked me specifically about the people, and so we've talked to a lot of, like, not only homeowners, but a lot of people who rent also have to pay for their own services. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Huge percentage in Mexico. Well, our experience in Mexico, I shouldn't make such a broad statement, but from our experience, like, you're in Cabo and the mom owns a house and she's in Tecate. So, like, if the plumbing goes out, you fix it and then we'll deduct it out of the rent or whatever. It's not like here where you go to your landlord or you call the owner.
Yeah, the property manager.
Very different. Right. So, and there's homeowners, and they're looking for services, but there isn't like a consumer-rated, consumer-driven.
Not a place to go to. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they love it. Okay. Then you have these artisans, right, down there. We have a friend who's building a house, and these guys come in and they're masters of, like, woodworking and tile work and, like, design and all this stuff. They have no platform to advertise. They're literally only going off of a referral from the previous. So we can provide a venue to get more work for good quality people. So one of the things that our friends do that we don't like is charge the consumer, right? We wanted to say, hey, if we brought you business to the service providers, would you pay us a fee? But if we don't give you any business, there's no fee. Not like, hey, it's $1,000, come on our website, we hope we'll find you some work, right? We're like, no, we don't know if we're going to find, this specific type of work that you do.
Or that you'd even wanted at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're basically offering a platform for two different entities to come together.
He's a recruiter.
Mingle. Right? Yeah. That's, I wouldn't say I was being prophetic, but I think this is really the time that we're living in.
You're the most prophetic guy I know.
So then it's exacerbated by the fact that we talk to, like, the 3 top ad agencies that own, like, the radio stations and television and print media, and they are on fire for what we're doing. They're like, oh, I would use this. I love this. This is great. We need to do this. We get to figure out our customer acquisition costs for the download of the app, and they're very app friendly for the most part in Mexico. They actually use more apps per person than do Americans.
Wow.
So where are you in the evolution of this going, testnet, mainnet? Where are you?
So we've done a ton of security testing, functionality testing, and expandability testing. One of my friends, I'll use a friend as kind of a loose term, acquaintance of mine, a buddy who I've had multiple conversations with, was the head legal counsel at Robinhood when they launched. And after 1 million downloads or something in 8 days, they were like, this is good, but this is like too good. They weren't prepared for that
prepared
kind of
for
thing.
it, yeah.
So we said, hey, if this does take off, and if half of what the people in Mexico are telling us in Mexico City are correct, we really need to gear up for scalability. So we've done that. We've had focus groups. We've had everything. We're ready to basically soft launch in Cabo. And the reason why we're doing Cabo first is it's like 120,000. It's a pretty high expat market, and we want to. No matter how much testing you do, this is just my experience, you want to launch and make your mistakes or find out, or in our case, it's a lot of user experience and figure out from the consumers what they like.
Essentially.
Yeah, and figure out those things. Then you can go launch in the 10th largest city in the world. And
Is Mexico City the 10th largest city in the world?
I believe
Did not
it
know
is.
that.
I believe it is, yeah. So, and we're not in like every state in Mexico. We did a lot of security analysis, and there are some places that we don't really want to go and work. But
Why is that?
safety.
Yeah.
Physical safety.
Physical
Yeah.
safety, yeah.
Understood.
And there's also a lot of compliance too with like COVID and other areas where they may not be willing to do that as that
okay.
particular area. And we don't want, one of the big things that we hear, and it was kind of almost an afterthought, was like husband's at work, wife's at home, and she's having a vendor come over
Yeah.
by herself. She's at home. Like,
Yeah, my
doesn't know
wife
this guy.
my wife doesn't she really would like it if I'm home when the guy comes over. Whatever guy, and so I try to make myself available, and I get it because
Yeah.
a lot of times they might speak Spanish, and although she speaks Spanish well enough, my fluency in is better. And
Well, imagine though if you knew the person that was coming over had 10 reviews and had done work in your neighborhood before.
yeah,
Feel a lot more comfortable.
That's how Mary's really good at figuring out the referral system in our neighborhood. Like the moms for this person, and this, she's really good at it.
It's funny when you were thinking about safety, because I didn't think you were going there. I was just thinking about Craigslist Juarez. Right? I wonder what those ads look like. Right?
And Craigslist is great, and but it provides a
Juarez.
lot of services, right? And I'm going to probably get in a lot of trouble for saying this, but and I didn't think of it, so you can blame me. But it's kind of like Amazon, right? You can pretty much get anything you want on Craigslist, and then there's eBay, which is like, okay, if they don't have it on Amazon, I'll get it on eBay.
Right?
It's that. So there's Craigslist, which has like a lot of stuff, but we want to be specific to bringing people that have needs for service providers together with the service providers and hold accountability to the service providers, right? Because if they don't get positive reviews, then they
get kicked off.
Yeah.
What are the things that you need right now as far as to get this thing launched? Or are you just plodding along and you've got everything you need? Is there a certain thing you need to happen that you're not in control of? Can you talk without?
Yeah, so Eden, my partner, has a phenomenal amount of experience. You know how you guys kind of love each other. You have your bromance.
Yeah,
You're talking
he's the
about all
CEO and
these
I'm
stuff.
the operations guy. So it's the same kind of thing.
So Eden and I have a very similar. He's super good at what he does. I mean, like he's not only done it, but like had made the money to back up what he was saying. So brilliant guy. I'm sorry he couldn't be here today. He's had some physical stuff, but he'll be back on the show.
Eden, we know you're here in spirit, brother.
And we love you.
We love you. I haven't even met you yet, and I love you.
But that's really his bailiwick is like the back end, we'll call it, and the money side of things. He's just phenomenal. And then I'm like the operations guy. So we're plug and play, ready to go, and we're in the process of becoming public. And so, that's just public information. You can do that, but
So
we're dangerously close.
So you said
launch.
your S1 is filed, or are you? I don't want you to talk about something that's proprietary. Can you talk about where you are?
We've not filed our S1, but we've had multiple conversations.
But you're
with
making
the
the step.
SEC.
You're taking the
Yeah.
steps towards that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right. So what?
it just adds to the legitimacy of the operation. And no offense to any ICOs, but when you go back and look at that, they raised $750 million, and 3 guys from Stanford, God love them, have never had a comma in their paycheck. Like, how's that going to work out? Never.
No,
you know what I mean? Like,
you're betting on brilliance, essentially, right?
It's all good. So what we want to do in the blockchain aspect, which is super cool, and Pedro's perks and our Pedro's token has more to do with, we're going to have our community be built
Yeah, and talk to a naive audience. Talk to an audience that's young and understanding crypto about how this is going to work.
So back in the ICO boom, we'll call it, right? These
Initial
people were like,
coin
hey, if
offering.
I get 1 million people to use this, or this is a great idea, so we're going to do that, and then like we should all make
if
1 million.
you build it, they will come, kind of thing, right?
Right. But my experience has been that 99%, I'm going to go out on a limb, over 90% never actually did, right? They never built the community. They never had the user base like Bitcoin or Ethereum or people that actually use their tokens for particular reasons, right? So what we said was we're going to go closed end. We're not going to have our token listed on an exchange. It's just for our own personal use. We talked about the Chuck E. Cheese analogy.
It's a native token to Pedro's list, right?
And if we have 1 million downloads and if we have 1 million users, then we can definitely have a different conversation. But right now we're just building it and we want our people. So like things that we're doing to help our, and again, this relates back to when we were talking about the arrogant American company going down there. Mm-hmm. It's different down there. So we go to Cabo.
Yeah.
We're giving 10% of our profits to the local community, right? Well, we could pick the Red Cross or we could pick whatever, but the community in Cabo will have the opportunity for them to pick which charity they want this money to go to. So if you write a review on Pedro's list or you use the service or you refer a friend, you're going to get crypto, right?
Okay.
That you can use for a variety of things. We ask them, what do they want? They want to pay their phone bill. They want food. They want cerveza, right? We're like, okay, well, you can go into the OXXO now and be able to do that with our currency, right? We've got a relationship with Carl's Jr. down there. We've got a relationship with a lot of beverage companies. And you can, we're in some final stages with I mentioned the 2 top telecom companies. So you can actually have practical use for doing it.
Oh, wow.
The biggest challenge I've had is now when I write a review for something, like if someone's got a small business or they're opening or whatever, I totally want to help them. Like if I had a good experience, right?
Right.
My bank, like, you know what I mean? Like,
not so much.
Yeah, like I start thinking, why am I doing this for American Airlines or whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
I go into a store to buy a shirt and they're like, oh, why don't you write a review? I'm like, because my time is valuable? And what are you doing for me? Like you already have 100,000 reviews. You don't need my review. You're not a startup. You're not trying to get, like, why am I wasting my time? So we said, we're going to pay you for pretty much every action you take with us on our app. And then you go and now you get other apps where you're like, I don't want to write a review. I mean, like I said, if it's going to have an effect, but other than that, it just seems like it's just marketing.
This was great. I mean, I pretty much said to David, I said, he's trying to do something like Angie's List, and he's going to do it on blockchain in Mexico. And that's like, David said, cool, right? And we just came in here, and I had no idea that you were just this incredible wealth of such exciting things, at least exciting to me. So
I do want to say one more thing since we're talking about blockchain, our transparency by having all of our transactions. So if you're a service provider and you're a consumer, right? That transaction will be posted on the blockchain.
Yeah, it's on the blockchain. Yeah, that's what makes the most sense to me.
Yeah,
it's immutable.
No-brainer.
So you can see it. It can't be edited, can't be changed, can't be taken down. It's right there.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna date myself here. Anybody who says they're never giving up their 8-track collection, no matter what. Okay, that's the same thing of you staying in the legacy financial system. Blockchain is here. It's coming whether you like it or not. Andrew Birnbaum, Chief Operating Officer of Pedro's List, and give a shout out to Eden Miller, CEO of Pedro's List. And I wish you guys abundant success. Travis, the engineer, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
David Hampton.
You're the best.
Thank you.
You know what? That's 2 of us that think he's the best. Can we just...
Dave, am I the best?
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Dave, you could say...
So
that's for the video listener, video watchers.
Yeah. For those, there was a profane gesture for those of you on Apple and Spotify. No, actually, Andrew lovingly used some sign language to say that you're the best. American Sign Language, ASL. Dave Hampton, RoboRecruiter. Thank you so much, everybody.
My
I'm
pleasure.
David James, the Job Whisperer, and remember, you whisper.